Finally, there we go. Welcome back, everybody, to the Plays and Fades YouTube channel, the live stream after the weigh-ins, and I am joined this week by two absolute beauties for a second week in a row. I'm honored to have with me LiamPicksFights and ChanceWagers. Liam, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing very well, man. It's a good day. It's a great day to break down some fights. And the more I've been looking into this card, the more I think there might be some exploitable opportunities. So excited to let the chips fall where they may for the last card of the year, my friend.
Perfect. Well, I was lucky enough to be asked by Chance to join him on his Twitter space last night. We talked up a few of them, but there's some I'm waiting to hear what you guys got to say. Chance, how are we doing, my friend?
Pretty good, man. Ready to talk some fights as always.
Perfect. Well, I say we don't waste any more time. We got 14 fights to go over. A huge amount of, let's say, drama at the weigh-ins today, actually. There was a lot of weight misses. I was watching Liam break it down on DFS by the numbers channels, and the weight misses kept coming in. So let's get her started. First fight of the night, Matt Sales, 8-3. Jordan Levitt, 8-1. I got a decently hot take, I think, compared to a lot of people. I've seen a lot of people break it down other ways. So, Chance, I'll start with you. What do you got on this one, my friend?
The way I'm looking is more so fight doesn't go the distance. I know it's gotten bet a pretty good bit the past couple of days, but I have a hard time seeing this go the distance unless we see Levitt just kind of ride out top position. Sales hits kind of hard on the feet. I really don't think he's that bad. I don't think Levitt is as bad as people say either. Going back and watching tape, his wrestling's a bit better than I'd remember, to be honest. I don't think he's an elite level wrestler by any means, but he's definitely not bad. And I think he will be able to get it to the ground at some point. So I think Levitt subs live. I think Sales KO is not bad at plus 420 over on FanDuel. I think that's honestly not a bad bet either. But yeah, I think the best way to go here is fight doesn't go or the under. That's kind of where I'm sitting right now.
Fair, and I like that. That's definitely one way to look at it. In my eyes, I see it as a very binary fight. I don't mind Levitt's ground game all in all. I know it didn't look too good last time out, but Liam, what do you got to say on this one?
So, yeah, for me, this was also a fight that I targeted not to go the distance. I think both guys have viable paths. I think that, Levitt probably has a better path towards a decision. Or a more reliable path to push, which is that he's going to want to get it into grappling exchanges. We've seen in the past Sales has been a little exploitable in that range, but it's hard to evaluate somebody based on Instagram. He's been away for a while, but I actually just dug in a little bit and saw that Sales was talking the right game. I think it was like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, he was like, I got to get better at my grappling. So like committing myself to doing a bunch of jiu-jitsu, and then like didn't post a lot over the last while. Couple times posted in the gym and like wrestling type exchanges. So I'm sure that he is like self-aware, like he knows what the flaws in his game were. I think that's the reason he's had this prolonged absence in part. But I also think that, he looked like the smaller guy at the weigh-in. I didn't like to see that. He's moving up in weight here. He looked like he had, pretty decent muscle, but I'm curious to see how he carries the weight. Fighting heavier can get you tired faster. So I think that if we see Levitt get to early grappling success positions, that might bode well for him over the rest of the fight as well, sapping some of the energy from Sales. But overall, I think that the best prop for Sales is to play this by KO at plus 420. If that's the side that you're on, I think that he's very live. He's got a decent amount of power, good percentage of his wins by knockout. Jordan Levitt doesn't have a tremendous amount to offer on the feet. A lot of his fights are contested at grappling range, which is why, he's been able to avoid getting knocked out thus far. But we've seen his grappling, isn't world class. Like he was exploited last time out by Claudio Puelles. So it's not like he's going to be a world beater with his grappling. He's going to have to fight for the wins in the organization with that. So I think that if you think Levitt gets the win, maybe you target that sub round one for a small poke at plus 550. I think that's the best prop on the Levitt side. But overall, I think that fight doesn't go the distance, covers all those outcomes. For that reason, it's probably a decent enough bet. I think the under 2.5 is a shorter price. So if you're looking to get involved, but you're a little late to the party, maybe the under 2.5 makes sense. Because I do think that a first or second round finish is just as live here, or if not more live than a third round finish. So for whatever that's worth, I think that this is a fight that Both guys have a viable path. Both guys have defensive susceptibilities where the other is strong. That to me spells finish.
Yeah, I came into this one with wanting to bet Jordan Levitt here. I really wanted to, and I missed out on him being evens. Mainly reason I wanted to bet him though was just because he's facing a guy coming off a huge layoff, change in weight class, and his opponent has exploitable holes in his game that I think Jordan Levitt matches up quite well against. The Puellas fight wasn't really pretty, and then the level of experience just isn't something you really want to back either. Maybe I was just I don't know. I think I missed out on my opportunity at evens, but the more you guys talk about the under, that's also a good option. -135 on my book for under 2.5. So I don't know what way I'll go yet. Maybe I'll take some living inside the distance because I'm more on his side, or maybe I'll just play him big on DraftKings. But this is one where I do think he wins. I think that the time away from the cage is usually not a good thing, and it looked like more like a bigger path of least resistance for Jordan Levitt here. I think it's his fight to lose, and for that reason, I'm going to pick him to win.
Well, that price would be best available on market, dude. So I think the under 2.5 at -135 is a pretty good look.
Wow, Canada has a good line on a bookie. Wow, nice. I'll take that. But yeah, I'll have to look into that. I respect both of your shots there. I might join you guys on that one because it just covers me too, because that Puellas fight wasn't really pretty to see. But I do think Jordan Levitt gets it done early. So who knows? Maybe that's the safe way to go. All right, let's move right along. The next fight up on the card, and we got 14 of these to go through. So this next one's one I'm going to keep it real short in. Don'Tale Mayes 8-4, Josh Parisian 14-4. Yeah, I want no part of this one. This is a tough one for me. Don'Tale Mayes is a guy who I think he has decent skills. He just hasn't been able to show them off that well, and I think that he hasn't really executed a game plan that he's wanted to. And it's tough because you got two guys coming in here, two guys with bricks as heads. And honestly, the only way I could see that betting this fight would probably be the over because they're too tough for their own good. So for that reason, I don't want much part of it. I'm going to let you guys take over. Liam, what do you got on this one?
Yeah, I think that this is kind of like a heavyweight dumpster fire. And for that reason, I think if you got in early on Don'Tale Mayes, at -150, -155, I kind of get where you were coming from. He probably looks just on paper like the better fighter. He's got a little bit of a bigger frame, but he doesn't really throw a lot of volume. He's not that reliable. His grappling is pretty bad. So I don't think that he has like a tremendous bounty of skills that really support him being a massive favorite here. He's probably a little bit faster, a little bit more athletic, maybe hits with a little bit more power. I don't think that he's got like an exceptionally well put together game, like you mentioned. He's the slightly younger guy here, but Parisian shown a willingness and ability to soldier damage pretty well. Very hittable. So, I can't make a big investment in him here, but at the +172 price tag, I think that's an opportunity for a slight buyback, 0.58 units to win 1 unit on Parisian here. And I just think that this is probably a fight that could go to decision, but we've also seen Mayes like slow down and get finished in more than one fight. Rodrigo Nascimento is not good, in my opinion, and that was a not good loss. I'm not sure why Parisian, if he committed to like trying to get takedowns here, would be like completely washed from doing so. I think it's not like a likely outcome, but Don'Tale Mayes is not good on the ground. So if Josh Parisian is just like smart here, he will press this fight into the cage, try and make him tired, and try and take him down.
Well, I definitely see that path. The big thing is they're both tough guys. I think Parisian more. So for me, when you're a guy who in Don'Tale Mayes, who I think he on the regional scene, he's just beating these pulps, right? And he's just getting those early finishes or showing that hand speed. It's not something that I think is going to be that effective because after he empties out that tank, I do think Parisian's still going to be standing there. So it's one I want no part of. But Chance, you got anything on this one?
No, I kind of think it's kind of a pass for the most part. I kind of see the angle both ways for both guys. I understand a shot on Don'Tale Mayes. I just don't really like the price. Like if it was closer to -150, I'd honestly be on Mayes pretty big, to be completely honest. But I'm not trying to lay 2-1 with Don'Tale Mayes. Parisian just not really a big finisher. So I think if you like Parisian by decision is like +500, I think at FanDuel. So I think if you like Parisian, I think you got to take a poke at that. I mean, I think that's pretty good odds, all things considered. So it's kind of where I'm at.
Fair. I don't think we waste too much time on that one. There's a lot better fights in this card. Yeah, I think that this is one that, on a DraftKings perspective, I'm completely going to fade it just because I don't see a finish too often, and it could turn into a sloppy, tired third-round heavyweight fight where they're just swinging for the fences with not much avail, right? So I think we move right along to one that I think there's a little bit of controversy on today. Raquel Pennington, 12-8. Macy Chiasson, 7-1. First thing to acknowledge, Macy missed weight by a decent amount. For a fight who, by the way, is at a higher weight class than it was originally supposed to be booked at in the first place. So there's two things to look into there. But someone who was holding a Macy Chiasson ticket, I kind of didn't mind that. This is one where it didn't look like she was that drained. Yes, she came overweight, which wasn't a good thing. You never like to see that, but maybe it's going to work to her advantage. I bet on Macy at plus 160 when it opened just because I thought that she was able to keep Pennington off the fence, frame off, and then if Pennington doesn't get her clinch game going, she's really struggling a lot in these fights. So for that reason, I think that Chiasson's size, reach, and strength and physicality is going to pay big dividends in this one. And at plus 160, I'm a fan. The line has since dropped, so I'm excited to see what you guys have to say about this one. Chance, lead us off.
I'm probably not the one to lead us off. I have absolutely nothing here, to be completely honest. I completely understand the take on Macy, especially like from your point of view. I think you made great points. I don't know. I really just completely passed on this. I don't really pass on a lot of fights on this card, but these two, this one and the Mays fight, I really have no opinion, to be honest.
Hey, fair. That's completely respectable. It is a sloppy one, and it's just me seeing, despite Pennington have the huge experience edge, I just don't really see her being able to get her main game off, just that huge size discrepancy, right? So we'll have to see. Liam, what do you got in this one?
Yeah, so for me, I think that Pennington looks good physically, I think, in preparation for this fight. You know, I think she came in looking just fine at 145 pounds. I didn't think she looked undersized. You know, Macy is going to be taller, longer than a lot of opponents in the UFC. And so I like the early price on Macy. You know, I think people that got in at the opener, that was a great bet. And that's, you know, going to be borne out by the closing lines as well. I think now, you know, I would not be surprised to see this close at like minus 185, minus 190, even minus 200 for Raquel. And the reason I think that is just because, you know, she's got, you know, in a fight that's more than likely going to go the distance, she's got, you know, more decision wins, I believe. She's also just like got a very clear process for winning decisions. Now, I've had some questions about her heart being in the game in some of her recent fights. But I think that she answered the bell versus Pannie Kianzad. You know, I bet on Pannie small in that spot as a dog, and she was able to come through there. I think that Raquel can come through again and get the decision win. You know, I was hoping to see Chiasson make weight at 45 at least because it would have told me she was in a little bit better shape. I'm curious to know what her shape is like for this fight. I think that that's a little bit alarming to miss weight at an agreed upon higher weight class. I think that that's not a good sign for what her preparation looks like for the fight. And I didn't like her posture. I didn't like how she came out with her head down, like just a bunch of things that I saw that made me, you know, glad I didn't take the poke because I did strongly consider it. I think if you were looking at the money line early, then I get why Chiasson's the side, but I think overall Raquel Pennington's probably just going to win a close decision here more times than not. And unless, you know, I think the more likely finisher is maybe Chiasson, but even then I'm like, who's more likely to quit on themselves in this fight? I do think Chiasson is the person. You know, she like fighters talk about this sometimes, but like they already lost the fight. They couldn't even beat the scale. They already lost the first fight. And I do think that there's something mental to that about feeling defeated. You know, you see the look of relief on somebody like CDF, and then you just see the utter, like, you know, defeat walking in from Macy. And maybe she looks like $1 million tomorrow and she's rehydrated 160 pounds and she feels great. That's very live possibility. But for me, I don't want to bank on that here. I think even at like a lighter weight, I would be a little bit surprised if Raquel gets muscled around in this fight.
Dude, if I could say one thing real quick, I honestly, when I looked at this fight, I was really close, and I still may do it. But Fight Goes is only minus 250, and I know a lot of people don't like paying juice, but I really don't know where a finish comes from unless someone just quits, kind of like what Liam was saying. For a women's fight, I think minus 250 is really not bad. I think it's basically predicated off of someone just like going in there and quitting at some point. So I think minus 250 is honestly a pretty good look.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. I honestly don't see many parlay pieces really in this card as a whole. I see maybe 2. So if anyone's looking to do that, there's one. Yeah, like you said, unless someone quits, I don't really see a finish. Pennington has her decision style path to victory there, but I think that I don't see Cheslin muscling Pennington around. I just see her strength and physicality being able to keep herself off the fence, So that's where I stand. I'm happy with my ticket, and we'll see how it goes. I think if I can get that, I think that when this fight was announced at 145 is when I booked it in, and that's the main reason why I had it. If it's at 135, I'd probably pass altogether, but I think this pays to Chiason's advantage here. All right, move right along to the sole Canadian on the card, and I know you guys are against me on this one, and I'm excited to hear why, because I kind of missed that earlier. But Charles Jourdain, 11-4-1, Andre Ewell, 17-8. Now, Charles Jourdain has been a favorite in almost all of his fights, and like big favorites too. He's kind of disappointed, really, and I've had tickets on him in the past. I had a ticket against him versus Arosa, and that he got Darce choked there. I had a ticket against him against Rojo, who worked out okay, but he's a guy who's been really inconsistent, so I can see where you guys want to bet against him. But Andre Ewell is a guy I've been fading for a while, so I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say about this one. Chance, what do you got on this one?
Yeah, so this one's pretty simple for me, to be completely honest. I think the line's a bit wide. I think Jourdain kind of sucks, especially like compared to like people's like what people think about him. I think he's a bit overrated. He hits hard. He's a bit dynamic on the feet. Like he throws some nice kicks, and he's a decent striker, I guess. But they lost to Arosa. It's not a good look. The Kulabau fight's not a good look. And I think Ewell on the feet has a pretty like decent boxing advantage for the most part. Ewell's a bit gassy, so I think if you're betting Jourdain, I think Jourdain late round 3 or decision honestly isn't bad if you're looking to play him. In my opinion, though, I think Ewell just will outstrike him on the feet pretty handedly. So I played plus 170. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. He's just a bit better on the feet. And unless Jourdain tries to grapple here, maybe he covers his price. But I just don't see that happening, to be completely honest. So I think Ewell's the side for sure.
Fair. Liam, what you got?
Yeah, this was a fight for me that I got in on an earlier price on Andre Ewell, so I took the plus 180 while it was around. Now plus 175 is the best available, and I think that for Ewell in this fight, he's got to keep it on the feet, right? I think that Jourdain is probably the better grappler, but Jourdain has never been like a committed grappling threat in his UFC performances. He goes out there to have like wild, reckless brawls with people, and he almost dropped the decision to Josh Kulabau when he was plus 380. I had on Josh Kulabau that night. So I just think that like Charles Jourdain, in terms of his market perception compared to his market performance, I think he underperforms market expectation with some regularity. That being said, if there's a time that he's going to like come out there and get the fun flying knockout and whatever the craziness, maybe it is against Andre Ewell, who's, shown maybe that durability slipping at 30 some odd years of age. But I think Ewell's cardio is a big function of that. I think his cardio and his durability should be improved at 145 pounds. Thought he looked good on the scales. Liked what I saw from him there. Thought he filled out. Didn't look like he was fat. Looked like he still had muscle, but filled out a little bit. Didn't look like he was significantly smaller than Jourdain here. So I think that Jourdain, also has a propensity to kind of throw away that first round at times and let it pass him by. And so, if you're going to give the big plus money figure on the other side here, significant reach advantage, probably the harder level of competition so far in the UFC, I'm just going to roll with that guy.
Dude, if I could jump in real quick, I would like to just note last 5 losses for Ewell: Nathaniel Wood, who I rate pretty highly; Cheeto Vera, who I I'm not a fan of, but his podcast with Joe Rogan made me like him a little bit more. So whatever. Chris Gutierrez, who chopped his leg in half, and I don't really expect Jourdain to do that. And then Julio Arce, who we know now is, I mean, a pretty elite kickboxer, especially for MMA. So, I mean, those 5 losses, and I know that's kind of wiki capping it a bit, but I think we can all agree that Jourdain, even if you like him here, is on a different level than the guy Ewell's lost to. So just keep that in mind for sure.
I do like me some Jourdain here, so I'm not very happy to hear you guys say that, but I have no bet on it. I will be playing some Jourdain on DraftKings because I do think that he's able to win those later rounds. I think when it comes to the person who's able to get more, maybe more knockdowns, because I do know Jourdain's defense isn't great, but I do think that Jourdain's a very explosive guy, lots of opportunities, and I think he wants his win pretty bad. So I'm going to take him to win here. No bet, so good luck to you on that for you guys. But let's move it right along. Go Canada.
Wait, real fast. I'm so sorry. This is the last time I'm going to do this. Ewell plus 3.5 is a great bet. It's plus 100 if you have access to bet online or whatever. If he loses 29-28, you cash that pretty easily, and I think that's pretty live here. Ewell should come out and win round 1, I think, pretty handedly. So a live entry on Jourdain, or a Ewell plus 3.5 is, I think, a pretty good look.
Yeah, I don't mind it at all. Fortunately, I don't have access to those kind of lines, but I will sprinkle some Jourdain round 3, I think, and I do not mind your live entry. All right, move right along. There goes the one Canadian on the card. All right, this one's got a bit of drama on this one. Sijara Eubanks 7-6. Melissa Gatto 7-0-2. Even though she's been beat to a pulp in a few of those losses, or a few of those wins actually. Yeah, Eubanks missed weight. Looked awful, if I'm being honest, and that sparked a bet on Melissa Gatto for me. Liam, what do you got in this one?
Yeah, I didn't bet it. Don't want to bet based on what we saw at the scale. I do think that sometimes that could be a little misleading. However, I think that there was reason that people were on Gatto prior to that as well, which is that she looks great physically. You could take that for what it's worth, but I just mean her musculature is very impressive. She's also pretty dynamic in terms of her offense. Pretty dynamic in terms of her improvements, fight over fight. Younger athlete here by a significant margin. That being said, I think some of the takes have been a little crazy, in the sense that I don't see a path for Gatto to like out grapple Sijara in round 1. I think as the fight goes on, Sijara gassing out and becoming more susceptible, that I could see as like a live path for Gatto here. And that's always been a little bit live. Sarge, she's shown that she could go 3 rounds with people and win, clear decisions there, but not all that often. And 6 career losses by decision for Sijara Eubanks. So I do think that, if Gatto is able to mind her P's and Q's early and make Sarge work the whole first round, I think then she becomes live. The question is, though, is Sarge able to just pin this girl to the ground because she has better positional control? And that's what I sort of suspect. But, the visual on the scale, not great. The size dynamic, I didn't think looked great. Sarge is the one dropping down in weight, and she didn't look like markedly bigger as far as I'm concerned. So for all those reasons, I get why people are on the younger, fresher, more dynamic athlete here, but she might just get control grappled by somebody like Sarge if she doesn't gas. And so I don't want to predicate my bet on Sijara just like having a cardio collapse here. I'm probably just going to end up passing on the fight.
Well, I did exactly what you said you didn't want to do. I made a bet based on her probably not looking good on the scale and probably gassing out. Yeah, I'm not going to stall it too much. Everyone knows why I bet it. Is she looked awful, and that's pretty much it. Gatto isn't someone I really look to back. I bet against her last time out. She snapped that girl's arm, poor Leonardo. But I don't think Gatto's that great, but she does have a definite cardio advantage here, I think. And she does have some good skills on the ground. So when you can give me the underdog for someone who looked very physically fit compared to someone who looked very not physically fit, I'm going to take a stab on the underdog. Chance, what do you got?
I really don't have a super strong take here. I would say, like, I don't think betting based off like weigh-ins is like a great thing long term. That can be like kind of sketchy. Because a lot of these fighters, like sometimes they look horrible and they replenish and they look completely fine the next day. So it's just like tough to do that. But I don't understand why fight goes to decisions minus 156. Like, does anyone have any idea why that is? I don't really know where a finish comes from. I think Gatto's defensively sound enough, especially like jiu-jitsu wise. I don't think Eubanks is going to go put her in like a really bad position grappling wise. And I mean, late, like Eubanks maybe gasses, so Gatto late maybe. I mean, that's the only way like I really see it. I don't know, minus 150, 6 for a women's fight to go the distance, I think is pretty short. I don't know. I don't really see a huge advantage for either girl here. And like I said, I think that's predicated on Eubanks either gassing or putting Gatto in a horrible position, which I just don't see for the most part.
I thought about the same thing in terms of the fight goes to decision as being something I wanted to target in that price range. And it was actually the weigh-in that kept me off of that. So that was like how I used the weigh-in to factor into my betting. You know, I was like, this fight almost assuredly goes to decision because even when Sarge gasses out and like half dies, she still like hangs on to lose the decision. And I think that, you know, in this case, I'm a little bit concerned because she's like 36, looked a little shaky on the scales. Got to question where the motivation's at as well. I would think not making the weight, you know, it's just going to put her another 2 fights away from the title. It's like, I don't know. That was for me a red flag. And, you know, somebody who's never thrown in the towel, could I see them throwing in the towel to go to 500 as a fighter over the course of their career? I could actually see that. So that's the only thing I'm worried about their chance, but I see your angle for sure.
Yeah, I think I'm going to end up playing goes to decision, and I'm probably going to play Gatto, like probably for a couple units as well. So that will kind of cover me there, and then play fight goes a bit smaller. So that's kind of how I'm looking to play it.
Fair. I don't mind that at all. I sprinkled in a little bit of Gatto round 3, just because it was a bit. I thought the odds would come down, so I think that probably is the only way it really finishes is if Sijara gasses out. I don't see her making any mistakes on the ground really, unless she's really, really tired. And I don't think Gatto puts her on the feet at all. So for that reason, I don't mind your bet there. I'm probably just going to stick with my little play on Gatto plus 135 and hope for the best, right? So not going to waste too much more time on that one. I'm with Combate here. Fade the inconsistency. Yes, there's value. And for the record, I was already leaning towards a bet on Gatto a bit just because of that inconsistency, but seeing Eubanks at the weigh-in just completely pushed me over the edge and made me. I was going to be a half unit play, but full unit just because didn't like what I saw, and that's keeping it simple. All right, next up on the card, we have ourselves a good one. The first person to ever not make heavyweight, Justin Tafa, 4-3. Harry, the legend himself, Hunsucker, 7-4. Man, what do we have here? We have ourselves a heavyweight not making heavyweight, and a guy in Harry Hunsucker who people thought was one of the worst people in the UFC. It just spells under for me. I don't know what else to say. This is probably the lock of the night, not to steal somebody else's name, but this is probably the one place you got to go if you need a parlay piece. If these two guys are gonna kill each other, probably don't know what side. Probably Tafa putting out Harry Hunsucker's lights like everybody else has done to him in the past. But the way Tafa looked today, not making weight, the way Hunsucker looked, he looked decent. It's tough. I don't know. I'm excited to hear what you guys got to say. Chance, you first.
Hunsucker KO round 1 plus 1,300 is the bet of the year. To be completely honest, that I don't know how that's that wide. To be honest, I mean these guys, like if they walk to the middle and both just like swing, are we going to be surprised? Like, I mean, I'm not going to be shocked at all. The under is a good look. It's been hit a bit. But yeah, I mean, I think under 1.5, anything under like minus 200, I think is playable for sure. Yeah, I'm going to play under 1.5 and I'm going to have some Hunsucker round 1 KO plus 1,300 for a couple units. To be honest, I think that line is just insanely wide. I think in the first 2 minutes, Hunsucker is the better fighter, to be completely honest. I don't like rate Tafa very highly at all. So yeah, plus 1,300 is absolutely ridiculous. So I played it for 2 units plus 1,300. So That's where I'm at.
Fair. Well, I'm gonna be completely honest. I play a little bit of Harry Hunsucker, which is something I told myself I would never ever do. I just take him to finish. I heard someone, I forget who it was exactly, talking with you, Liam, earlier about the opportunity of Hunsucker getting a sub there. So instead of playing the round 1 KO, I just took him round 1 in general for 0.25 units, and I put 0.5 units on Hunsucker to win inside the distance, just because I think that happens. But the big bet is going to be the under. Liam, what do you got in this one?
Yeah, so gonna echo a lot of your sentiments here, boys. I just think Tafa. I don't know exactly why people like his game so much. I think that he has some power. He has some durability. I don't think he has the world's greatest fight IQ by any means. And I think that overall he fights a pretty reckless style. He stands in the pocket and like trades punches. And Harry Hunsucker, he's not a great fighter, but he could do that. On top of that, I think he looks in better physical condition for this matchup than he has in previous matchups, like pretty significantly. And Tafa is like tipping the scale at like 260 some. I don't think that's like a great look for him. I don't think he's going to be very fast and mobile here. Harry Hunsucker probably a little bit more mobile, and if you go back and look at like old footage from Hunsucker, he does have tape of him taking people down. Again, this is all in the first round and only in the first round, but he takes people down and like submits them with Americanos and stuff like that. So it's like, I don't think that he is a complete zero on the ground. And I do think that Tafa has largely been that. Yeah. And I just am curious though. Tafa's probably no fool in the sense that, he knows where people are going to try and take fights with him, but they're also giving him like opportunities for him to come along slowly by having guys who aren't primary grapplers. But Hunsucker, he obviously took this fight seriously, trained way different than he trained for his previous fights. And I'm thinking if he has any brain, then he's going to try and at least press the grappling a little bit. That's the only thing that makes me scared of my Hunsucker KO1 ticket. So maybe I will add a small play on the Hunsucker round 1. And, I think Hunsucker inside the distance at plus 400 isn't a horrible way to target it either.
Hey, that's exactly where I'm at right now. 2 lower-level heavyweights. It should finish. I hopped on the fight doesn't go when it was, I think, minus 350. It's ballooned all the way up now. It's a parlay piece. It's my big bet of the night with something else, which I'll talk about later, which I'm kind of scared of. I might want to get some more action on that doesn't go, but if I'm playing Harry Hunsucker at, plus 450 to finish, I got enough action on this low-level fight. I don't want anything more. You never know what can happen in these things, right? Harry Hunsucker can turn into Jason Witt and develop an iron chin and not get knocked out and then not implement a game plan and go to decision. Who knows? But this is one where I really like the spots. I like the unders, and I'm happy to see you guys agree. I think it's going to be a pretty entertaining one for as long as it lasts, despite the lack of name value, despite the lack of skills. But 2 guys going to go out there and bang. And we already got a record broken and a guy missing weight, so at heavyweight. So, oh well. All right, next up, we have Raoni Barcelos, 16-2. Victor Henry making his UFC debut, 21-5. I talked about this on the live with Chance yesterday, so I'm going to pass it to him here shortly. But I think that Barcelos is levels above. It is a tough debut for Henry to make. I do think Henry has promise in the division. I do think he has skills. But man, you're going up against Raoni Barcelos in your first fight. It's a really tough demand, and I know Chance is going to talk about it, but if Barcelos wants to, he can absolutely steamroll Henry on the ground and look even higher than the price tag does indicate. So I have some money on Raoni Barcelos. Chance, take it away.
Yeah, so I played Barcelos pretty big here. I played him for as much as I possibly can as far as MMA goes. At around minus 303 is where I got it. I mean, I don't really see Henry's path to victory for the most part. I think people saying that he could maybe stay on the outside and kind of point fight with Barcelos, I think it's kind of wishful thinking, to be completely honest. For your UFC debut to be Raoni Barcelos, that is a tough task. And if Barcelos comes out here, obviously we know how good of a striker he is. But if he comes out here and grapples, he's going to look minus 1,000. Henry doesn't really have a lot off his back to offer. And I've seen him getting taken down by far worse wrestlers than Barcelos. And I've seen him, to get up, he usually goes and gives up his back. And I think Barcelos rear naked choke, if anyone can give me that prop, I will take a shot. So yeah, I mean, I'm on Barcelos pretty big here money line wise. I still think it's playable where it's at now across the board. I personally think it should be like minus 450, minus 500, to be honest. I don't think this is close at all. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see the path. So yeah, Barcelos money line, Barcelos sub plus 500. If he grapples, he's gonna look minus 1,000. So that being said, of course, he'll sit there and strike with Henry for 3 rounds and make it close. But yeah, I think you have to play sub, at least small here for sure.
Fair, I agree. I hope he implements that wrestling game plan, because despite Henry's, I'm not going to say lack of ability, because he's a very technical. Sorry, he's a very good fighter in my opinion. It's just he isn't the level of Barcelos, especially on the ground, right? So I think the biggest level of skill discrepancy is on that ground. So if Barcelos takes him there, should be game over. I do like your sub prop. I only have a Barcelos in a parlay right now, which we'll talk about later. 2 parlays on the night. He's in the other one. I wish I parlayed him up with Tafa and Hunsucker doesn't go, because those are the 2 spots I like the most in the entire card. But they're on separate parlays because I'm an idiot. All right, Liam, what do you got in this one?
Yeah, so I don't actually have a tremendous amount in terms of bets on this fight. I'm referring back to some notes that I wrote for a program I went on earlier to see what had even stood out to me as plays. Barcelos sub plus 500. Fight doesn't go to decision at minus 120. But then, or excuse me, it was fight goes to decision. I think it was at plus 120. And then Henry via decision or split decision. If you have access to DK Sportsbook, Henry to win the fight by split decision is plus 2,200. And so I get everything that you guys are saying about Barcelos, right? And I think he's a good fighter. But I think what cost him last time against Valiev is that he's a little bit low output, doesn't really put the foot on the gas all that often. And even though he's like better than people in a lot of phases, he doesn't like press one phase all that often. And so he ends up having these fights where he closely beats everybody in like most aspects of the fight. And I think that just can be hard to judge. You need a discerning eye sometimes to see what Hany Barcelos is doing so well. And for me, that's the only hesitation I have with playing him this weekend, right? Like, I don't think Henry's going to finish Barcelos. But I think I mentioned this to you guys before. I really like the attitude of this guy. He talks about the fight like it's any other fight for him. It's just another opportunity. And I think when you get a guy from the regional scene who's 26 fights deep into a pro career, he's not really the same kind of like UFC jitters candidate as some other people. I think I forget who mentioned it. I wish I could give him credit, but they said Chris Curtis was an example that came to mind. That's one that comes to mind for me too, of like these guys that come in and they look like a journeyman record, couple losses, couple wins, but they also are just not afraid of the opportunity, and they're not going to treat it like, oh, well, this is the UFC. So he's just going to come out here and get in a fight with Hany Barcelos. And I think that Hany's the better fighter, but he's also, they're both like kind of in that age parallel where I'm like a little bit older for the division. Both guys can have that cardio drop off. Who's it going to be? And if Hany was a little bit more active, I would be right there with you guys. But I think that he could leave the door open for this Henry guy. And Henry just doesn't get finished. Like I looked through his record. He's fought some decent enough names, win, lost, and drawn, but he doesn't really get finished all that often or ever. So I think if somebody's going to do it, it's Barcelos by sub. But I think that this fight is a candidate to go the distance on a fight card where, I could see a bunch of fights ending inside the distance.
Fair. All right. Well, not that makes you a little bit less confidence, but I love your takes as always. I do think Barcelos rules here, but I'm not jumping to rush inside the distance and bet that at the window just because of the reasons you mentioned. But I do think that is the better and more likely outcome. If I was able to on some of my books, I would bet sub. I only have inside the distance on my 2 main books, so if I want to, I could go bet sub, but I'm not rushing to go do it. I would do that if I had to, though. Chance, I like your spot in the sub there. All right, let's keep it rolling. We got a nice little pace going. This one, 40 minutes in, we're halfway done. It's a good card, though. Make sure you guys are hitting the like button down below, and let's keep her moving. Gerald Meerschaert, 33-14. Dustin Stolfus, 13-3. This is a tough one for me. I bet Stolfus against Vieira last time out, and he did not look good. I was hoping more in a Vieira cardio dump, but Stolfus got outstruck by a BJJ guy. So anyways, Meerschaert's a guy who a year ago or 14 months ago was knocked out cold by Chimaev in the first punch in the fight, and now is coming along. Had a nice, impressive win with Makhmud Muradov, which was actually the very, very first card that Liam broke down with me. He called out that GM3 sub, and he cashed pretty big. But yeah, this is one where I'm liking Gerald Meerschaert here. Aside from him getting starched, he's a killer to be killed fighter. Sorry, that goes hand in hand. He's a killer to be killed fighter. And I think his ground game is levels above Dustin Stolfus's. Honestly, I would bet the sub prop again. Unfortunately, he's a bigger favorite than I anticipated. I think GM3 wins this fight. I think he submits him. I think he gets done decently early. I think that Gerald Meerschaert's in one of the better parts of his career. He looks like he's training hard. He looks like he's doing well. And it's a good matchup for him to win. Am I crazy to think that he should be this big of a favorite, or do you guys have anything different? Liam, I'll start with you.
So I think it's always a little dicey with Gerald on the money line as a favorite, right? Because Gerald kind of fights within the margins. He's not that fast. He's a little bit hittable, right? Like he'll get touched with shots in most fights that he's in. But I think that Gerald in this fight, he's got a decent striking offense. And I think that that's what people were missing in the Muradov fight. They were like, well, Muradov's just going to style on him. And I was like, he's probably going to throw back and hit him with some body kicks and touch him with the 1-2. He doesn't throw anything that fast, but he throws it all pretty hard and gets reactions from people. You could just go back and watch the Gerald Meerschaert footage, and even tough guys like Eric Anders took a couple of those body kicks and they were like, oh, F this. Like maybe I should try and press this guy to the cage or something. And I think that what we could see from this fight is Stolfus looking decent early. I would not be surprised if Stolfus came out here and was landing some clean punches on Gerald. But what I really think is that Gerald, over the course of a fight, works his way in if he doesn't get knocked out early. I don't view Stolfus as a guy who's got like this crazy one-punch power. Stolfus himself is something of a grappler. I don't think he's going to out-grapple GM3. And so ultimately, I'm left thinking that GM3 wins the fight. I think he wins it inside the distance. I think he wins the fight by submission. I don't think any of the prices are, altogether desirable for me. If I was to play anything, I would probably play GM3 inside the distance at plus 110 because, I think a knockout here isn't outside of the question. I don't think he's going to like shut the lights off. But I do think I was talking about for Meerschaert. And I know nobody's going to think so, but dude, Dustin Stolfus, like the striking matchups he's been engaged in weren't with like world-class strikers. They're with other grapplers, and he got outboxed in both of them. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just like, how sure are we that he's going to be the one winning striking exchanges with GM3, who just admittedly outstruck Muradov? Like, I won't hear it another way. He outstruck Muradov en route to winning that fight. So I think that GM3 is a personal favorite of mine. That's the other thing. I'm trying not to let my bias get involved here. But just looking back at Stolfus, I don't know what jumps off the paper as the impressive, characteristic that he's going to bring to bear against GM3.
Fair. I like your take on that one. Chance, what do you got?
Yeah, I actually completely agree with what Liam said. I was going to say the only way to play this fight, in my opinion, is GM3 KO, to be completely honest. That's the only price that I actually like on this fight. Inside the distance is too short. A plus 100 for GM3 to win inside the distance is not something I'm trying to play. And sub is only plus like 130, 150 range. So, yeah, I mean, GM3, like a positional TKO, I think is very live. Stolfus honestly just sucks. So, I mean, while GM3 probably wins, I'm not a big fan of laying minus 200 on him at all. And I'm really not a fan of playing a sub line at like plus 130. And yeah, look to Liam's point, I was going to say the exact same thing. And I was going to say, like, I don't think anyone else is going to agree with this, just like Liam said. But yeah, I think GM3 KO is like very live. I mean, he hits pretty hard. Well, he doesn't throw a lot and he's not very dynamic. I don't think you have to be to knock out Stoltzfus, and I don't really think you have to be some elite grappler to put him in a bad spot on the ground either. So yeah, a GM3 KO plus 500. That I think that's the best bet on the fight. I mean, win or lose, I think there's definitely value there for sure.
Fair. Well, the thing for me is I don't see Stoltzfus winning a decision. I don't think he outpoints Mearshart in any place. I think if Mearshart's going to lose this one, he's going to get nuked, which I don't see it being that big of an opportunity either. I think it's Mearshart all day. And for that reason, take in mind, I regret this bet, but I have him parlayed up with Ronnie Barcelos, and he is a parlay piece for me. I was really struggling to find them. So he is what I'm putting in. I got plus money for Mearshart and Barcelos together, and the line has moved so much in Barcelos since that I can't go anywhere with it. That's what I'm stuck with. I got Mearshart as a parlay piece on the money line instead of him to finish. If anyone had to bet that again, please take Mearshart to finish.
That will win.
Perfect. I hope so. I hope so, but I think that the value is definitely in Mearshart to finish here. That's the big thing. So not my
Chance. The only thing I would add is, you had said you were a little bit worried about the short price. The price is so short because Mearshart finishes. Like he just does. Like I think with the exception of Eric Anders, who by the way only got submitted by like the best Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy at 185 right now. You heard me here, but I'm saying like I think this is like number one, a finishable opponent, but number two, I think that this guy, like GM3 will find a sub with like 10 seconds left. You know what I mean? Like he's never going to stop looking for it. And that's why I think it's very live here. I kind of thought something else that had stuck out to me before was GM3 in final round or by decision. I think that was at plus money as well. And I just have a feeling like this plays out kind of like the Hidalgo fight where maybe they find some range, they're touching, hitting each other with shots, and then Gerald just turns up the pace on him slowly over time and drowns him.
Fair. Well, I do like my spot. I think the fight doesn't go is also something I might target as well in case I need to do something else. Because that is honestly, don't see it going the distance either. But so what I'm stuck with, I got Mearshart to win with Barcelos, the parlay plus money. Give me that. I do think GM3 wins pretty handily. The only regret I have is I think he wins inside the distance, so I'd rather have the value of him doing that instead of having him parlayed up with Barcelos. So we'll see where that goes. You know me, I like to do my Hail Marys too. I hit a Hail Mary last week, so looking to do it again, and Mearshart to finish, probably, well, maybe not by sub after what you guys said, but Mearshart to finish will definitely be on that Hail Mary ticket.
Dude, I do think he subs him. I just hate the price. Like, it is more likely that he does sub him. Just whenever I'm looking to play something like that, I would just like a better price. And I think plus 500 on something that, I mean, is honestly probably a 50-50 outcome, or at least like 60-40. I'd rather have the plus 500 ticket on KO, especially positionally. I think it's very live, but I do think he subs him though, probably.
All right. Well, I like you guys' takes on that one. Let's move right along. This is one we've been talking about for a while, especially on the Twitter Spaces yesterday. We got Darren Elkins opening up the main card versus Cub Swanson. I know I'm on an island on this one, so I'll let you guys go first. Say your piece, and then I'll have my little rebuttal. Chance, you get to start her off.
Cub's gonna floor him like early. I think. I mean, on the feet, I don't think this is close at all, and I think Cub's got the defensive grappling to keep it on the feet. So yeah, I'm on Cub early. Cub KO. Like I think it's all live. Darren Elkins sucks. And if I lose all these bets, then I'll just fade Darren Elkins against whoever he fights next, and then just double up there. So like he's not gonna win 2 fights in a row, like with the first one being Cub. So yeah, I'm not a fan of Elkins. If
obviously,
yeah, and I mean, here's my thing. Like, why does Elkins like pre-fight? Like, why? Like, why would you not enter in on him live after round 1? I mean, because I think Cub wins round 1 at a super high clip. If he doesn't stop Elkins, so if you're looking to play Elkins, I would highly recommend taking him live after round 1. But yeah, Cub's gonna kill him, so don't do that.
This exact conversation is what ended up leading me to be on a Twitter, whatever they're called, Twitter. What are they? Twitter Space till 3 in the morning last night because you guys got me talking about this. Liam, go ahead, run me into the dirt.
Oh, I won't do that, buddy. I told you that I thought, headed in when I just saw the matchup on paper, I tried to recall off the top of my head, hey, what do these guys look like in recent form? Darren Elkins, impressive, ends up outlasting Minner for the win. These are the thoughts going around in my head. I'm like, Cub, he's kind of looked on the fritz a little bit, got touched up by that Giga kick early and found his way out there. So I'm like, oof, maybe this isn't a great spot. Maybe Cub's on the decline. Maybe he's on the way out here. I went back and watched the footage and I was like, I cannot bet Darren Elkins here. Cashed out my bet. And the reason being was because, when I look at this fight for Darren Elkins, I see him at a real deficit on the feet. And I see him, in addition, not having the clean grappling I'd want to see to beat Cub Swanson. A lot of the guys who have submitted Cub Swanson have done so when he's hurt or when he's dog tired at the end of like a 5-round fight. And I think that this is a 3-round contest. We've seen Cub Swanson go 15 hard, including against Crone Gracie, right, who you'd think would be a pretty dangerous submission threat throughout the course of 15 minutes. And Cub was able to keep that fight upright, keep that at a safe distance. The Daniel Pineda fight, Pineda tried to get after him early with the leg kicks, had a little bit of success there, tried to really commit to the wrestling and gassed himself out completely, but also in the process ate a lot of hard shots. And so when he was like trying to bail himself out with the wrestling and the grappling, he couldn't. He was getting tired faster than Cub. Cub was controlling the range, holding him out with the hips. Just saw a lot of positive signs from Cub. So is it possible that Cub mentally breaks, in the latter portions of this fight because Elkins is such a maniac? Yeah, it is. Like if Elkins is able to just, bleed all over the place, get rocked 15 times and survive it all, then he is live to come back late. And I have a very small poke on Elkins sub round 3 for that reason. That being said, I think that most of the time Cub Swanson kills him in the first 2 rounds here because Elkins, he's taken so much damage over the course of his career that short elbows from ground and pound from Derek Minner, one of them had him like stumbling, reeling all over the place, could hardly get his bearings back. And we've seen that a couple times now. I think that if he tries to take down Cub and gets like stuffed on a whizzer and punched 5 times in the head, he could just go to sleep. Like he is just at a point where I'm worried about his chin. To talk about the weigh-ins just briefly, I thought that he limped to the scale. I could be misreading that, but when I watched it back a few times, I felt like Darren Elkins was like favoring one of his legs and like putting ginger weight on it the whole time. That's a concern for me, especially if you're going to try and wrestle and grapple as your primary path to victory. So a couple of things of concern for me there on the Elkins side. And for that reason, I cashed out the bet on the money line. I entered on Cub KO at plus 300. I'm considering adding on Cub ITD at plus 200. And the reason being there is because I went back on Cub's resume. He does have some guillotine finishes. Darren, it's not like he's like completely liable in the grappling. Like he was able to get out of bad positions with Minner and these guys. But I still think that if he gets rocked badly, Cub could just put him to sleep. With a rear naked choke, with a guillotine. Like Cub has decent offensive grappling in his own right. And so for that reason, I would be really bitter if my only bet on this fight was Cub Swanson by KO and then he submits him. So I might just put a little inside the distance poke to cover my ass. Also on Fight Doesn't Go, which I think is a decent proposition to cover the Elkins side as well if he comes back for that late finish.
Fair. Well, I'm going to start saying my piece while I do that. Check out what the price is on Cub round 1 and 2 for me if you can. All right. I think that Cub should be favored. I think that Cub is a very talented guy, but I think he's on the decline here. I think he's getting old. That Gia kick, it was impressive, and I'm not going to include that in my argument at all. But Elkins is he's a dog, and I think that when I locked him in at plus 180, it was just a bit too wide. All right? Elkins is going to stick to him like glue. I think that if Cub Swanson doesn't put him out of there and doesn't put a lot of leather to his face and doesn't accrue a lot of damage to Mr. Elkins himself, that Elkins is going to be there the whole time. He's going to be putting on pressure. He's going to be wanting to drag him down. And I think that all these takedowns and all these get-ups and all this tiring him out just leads a bigger opportunity for Elkin to get that finish later in the rounds, in round 3, or even snatch something up. I know you guys mention all the time that Elkin isn't the best offensive wrestler, but you only need one mistake on the ground to finish somebody, and I think that Cub Swanson definitely gives up those opportunities for Elkins to do that. And when I'm trying to play somebody on DraftKings, I want a guy who's going to go out there and fight for my money. So Elkins on DraftKings is a big play of mine. I don't know if you guys watch my video or not. He is going to be a big play of mine just because I think that his win criteria is takedown, 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 control time, snap something up the later rounds, and get a late round finish. And for that reason, I don't mind my shot. Liam, what was the line on that one?
I think you are, spot on the money in terms of, trying to target it from a DraftKings perspective. I get it. Swanson to win in round 1 or 2 is plus 250. And
We lose him?
Sorry about that, boys. Can you hear me? I was saying I would just opt for the inside the distance at plus 200 at that rate. Marginal difference in price, and yet you get the whole third round. Like there's this idea, I think, just like floating out that Cub has bad cardio, and that's just not the case. Like he's gone 5, he's gone hard 3-round fights, no problem. Is he getting older? Sure. So is Darren Elkins, though, and like I think either one of them could be prone to have that cardio collapse. Obviously Elkins, known grinder, not going to quit on himself, all that stuff. I think that's very positive. But I also just think, man, when you look at the quality of their careers overall, I think that Cub has just been a better fighter over the course of their careers. Kind of surprising they never got the chance to fight. But Elkins is like in the mind of the public, coming off of like a really big come up spot. And Cub Swanson's been like flying under the radar, and people got burnt on the dog price against Giga. I know I did, but I think that this is like a buy low spot almost. I could see that if this fight had taken place 2 years ago, Cub is an even bigger favorite here. So that's just an interesting look to me. But yeah, who's excited to line up against Darren Elkins? I know I'm not. The guy is going to be an absolute savage and a warrior till the day he dies. But I just think that this might be a little bit more than he could chew this weekend.
And to be completely honest, to like bounce off what you said, if people are right and Cubs slowed down as much as people say he has, I highly doubt he's slowed down to be slower than Darren Elkins, right? Like, even if he's dropped off significantly from where he was as a fighter previously, like, he's only dropping down to Darren Elkins' level at the worst. So, yeah, I think they're just on a different tier, to be completely honest. I'll be honest, I have 3 very big bets on this card. And this is one of the 3. And the next one is up next, actually. So, yeah, I think even if Cub is on the decline, and he is on the decline, undeniably he's on the decline, but even if he's declined a lot, I still don't think he's as bad as Darren Elkins, to be honest.
Well, let me just say I am very happy that I have locked up my first place in the Iron Man, because I'd be struggling to make a lineup if you guys keep hurting my underdogs like this. But I get a week to relax. But let's move right along. Good luck on your bets there.
Harry Hunsucker for all the units. Harry Hunsucker. I'm kidding.
I will have Harry Hunsucker in way too many lineups, because I think that his potential to win me thousands of dollars is just really good. Because you know what? If he wins, I said it in the video, he's going to score 0 points or 120, and he's at a price tag of what, like 6.8K. He's going to be a Hail Mary option. But yeah, that's in the past. All right, let's move it along. Next one on the card. We're in the main card now. Hey, you know what? This is perfect that you have a big bet on this one. Tuas Gamrot 19-1, CDF 17-4. And I'm going to let Chance take this one away. I do not have the biggest read on this one. I said it earlier. I'm going to sit back and enjoy this one and gauge to see where it is, because it is a big step up for Gamrot. But while you guys talk about that, I'm going to make a DraftKings lineup with the 1,000 COVID things today, which is going to be a big pain. So, Chance, take it away.
Yeah. Gamrot's is on another level. Like, I'm not going to sit here and talk about this fight for hours on end. Gamrot's on a completely other level. CDF honestly does a lot of things that I like, and I like him as a fighter for sure. He would have absolutely rolled. Fuck Liam, help me out here. What Grant Dawson?
Fraudson.
Yeah. Yeah, Jesus. I don't even know the guy's name. That's how bad he is. CDF would have absolutely steamrolled him. But Gamrot's just on another level. CDF honestly looked pretty good against Gillespie. And, if it was purely grappling, I'd probably favor Gillespie over Gamrot, to be completely honest. But I do think Gamrot's on that level. I do think he's a tier above at this point in their careers. He's on the upswing. His striking's honestly not bad. I like what I've seen from him on the feet. And once it hits the mat, scrambling wise, and just pure grappling, I think he's on another level. So I think he's future champ material. So yeah, I'm betting here for a decent amount. I also like his cardio. I think that's a huge advantage here. The latter part of round 2 and round 3, Gamrot will still be fresh, and I'm not so sure about CDF. So yeah, I mean, I'm on him pretty big. Yeah, I got 3 big bets on this card. This is the third. Yeah, I think he's just better than CDF everywhere. Future champ. CDF's a quitter. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I'm unfortunately going to have to co-sign. I'm gonna change the verbiage, right? I'm gonna say CDF will find a way out of a fight, whereas I think Mateusz Gamrot will find a way into a fight. I think that Gamrot, talented guy. This is a step up in competition for him, but he also wasn't fighting slouches on the regional scene. Came from a decent organization. I think that somebody in the chat just mentioned Gamrot round 3 plus 1,200 is tempting. I agree. I think Gamrot to win round 3 or decision at plus money is tempting. And I think that the fight doesn't go is a little tempting here at plus money. CDF, if he wins this fight, I think a lot of that's predicated on him finishing, because it's not like it's outside the realm that he puts on like a pressure boxing performance. He's done it before. I don't think he's doing it to Gamrot, right? And I think Gamrot, in the fight that he lost in the UFC, by a few different accounts, he was injured for that fight. He didn't look like himself. It seems like an outlier of a performance. Didn't look like that before. Hasn't looked like that since. And Guram is also like kind of freaky durable. I think Guram is a good fighter and will have like a future in the sport. I think CDF, if you saw the weigh-ins, that he needed the box of shame. Even with the box of shame, he hardly made it. He was one of the shakier looking guys on the scale today. I don't like to see any of that when I'm putting my money behind somebody. And so I get why people are attracted to this plus money price, because CDF is a good fighter. But that's happened to me in the past where I was like, oh, CDF, good plus money price. So let me get in. And then he finds a way out late in the fight and disappoints. I thought that Gregor Gillespie is a fight that he should have had, and I say that as somebody who is an American wrestler and who loves what American wrestling is. But, American wrestling should lose to third degree Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. That's a fact. And I was surprised by that. It was a heart issue. It was a toughness issue. And it was a mental breaking issue. And that's where wrestlers sometimes have an advantage. And so I think that this guy, Mateusz Gamrot, I think he has the wrestling mentality, right? He calls himself gamer. I think that that's perfect for him. I don't think that this guy is going to go out there and not give himself a chance to win. I think he's going to come forward. I think he's going to switch stances, going to mix it up on CDF. I think he's going to stay safe. I think he's going to win the grappling exchanges here by and large. And so after round 1, I expect a slowdown from CDF. I expect a regression to the mean a little bit. And I think that Gamrot can run away with it as the fight goes on. So not going to get involved too heavily on the prop market here. I have a bet on the fight not to go the distance as a small hedge. And then I have, pretty big play for me on Mateusz Gamrot as well.
Fair. Well, I like that one. Like I said, this is one where you're getting such a big step up. I don't want to line behind someone, but if I had to bet, I would be taking Gamrot. I'll probably have Gamrot and DraftKings way more than CDF here. I just think that it's Gamrot's time to shine, and CDF looks like to be on a bit of the decline. If I'm going to pay so much attention to I'm missing names right now, to Eubanks on the scales, I had to pay some attention to CDF on the scales as well. And for that reason, I would be over on Gamrot. If I have to, maybe I'll get there. But for now, nothing. So I appreciate you guys breaking that one down. All right, let me go right along to the next fight right here. 4 fights left. Rafael Assunção, 27-8. Ricky Simone, 18-3. Yeah, I like Simone here. I haven't talked about my DFS video. I think he's got a pretty big path to victory, but I am not looking to spend that much on the price tag for him just because he is one of those guys who is inconsistent. He can walk onto punches, and way he may have that path to victory, a Sun Sao at least used to be a very crafty veteran who knows how to win these fights. And for that reason, I have no bet on it yet, but the lean is Simone by decision. Liam, what is your look on this one?
Yeah, so I think that's sort of the consensus take, right? Is that Ricky Simone's going to come out here, he's going to win the decision. I have concerns about Ricky Simone as a massive favorite, and I also have some concerns about, I feel like Ricky Simone has been a banana peel type fighter at times, like coming up just short, slips on the banana peel in big opportunities. This is a really big opportunity for him, trying to pick off somebody who's older, 10 years older, on the way out. I think that this should be a fight that Ricky Simone wins. What I think is a little bit scary is that, this is a similar style matchup in some ways. Uriah Faber, a little bit more aggro, but I do think he throws the same punch, the overhand right. And Ricky Simone walked onto it and knocked himself out in that fight. I think that that's like still a possibility, all these years later, but maybe he's closed the gap on that a little bit. For me, Ricky Simone over 3-1, it's just not something investable, versus a lot of guys. And Asuncao, look at the laundry list of guys he's beaten in the organization. I think that, yes, he is probably too slow to get it done now, but do you want to lay 3-1 to find out? Cody Garbrandt is pretty blazingly fast for all of his faults. Like I thought that he was looking pretty shitty, Asuncao, in that Garbrandt fight overall. But I do think that, Cody is like fast as shit. So I don't think that we're going to see the same kind of, speed from Simone here. He strikes me as a much more average athlete with a lot of strength, power, decent cardio, can wrestle for a long time, but he's not like a guy who's going to just like kill you. And so I think what could be interesting here is Simone playing it a little safe. The counter wrestling, the jiu-jitsu of Asuncao is pretty clever. So maybe we see Simone try and outbox him and then, shoot takedowns later in the rounds here. I think that either fighter to win by split decision. What was the line on that that I saw? Either fighter wins by split is plus 400. I don't think that's the worst poke of all time. And I think that, Asuncao scorecards equal no action, or either fighter wins by KO. Those are interesting ways to target this because, I think Asuncao largely finish or like greasy decision or bust, like eight. I just don't see him like winning this fight clearly. His style was never that, that he could just go out there and impose like a round winning strategy on somebody. So I don't know, man. It just seems like a fight that could play out a little bit closer than the odds entail, but I do think Ricky's going to get the win. So not really sure how to exploit it for a value perspective.
I think the only way you got to look at it is probably by the decision. It's not even that pretty in terms of money line, in terms of value, but it's something that might have to.
Problem is, if his chin is shot, like it looked kind of last time, obviously Cody.
Well, he could be out. You're right.
But if his chin is shot, then he gets hit by Ricky Simone, goes to sleep, and we're all like, well, that's why the bookie never has a part-time job.
Exactly. All right, Chance, what do you got on this one?
Yeah, I think this might be a hot take, but I think Simone's probably the worst bet on the card at the current line. I think that's, far and away the worst bet on the card, to be completely honest. He's not a big finisher, and I'm not going to sit here and just repeat everything Liam said. But yeah, I completely agree. The way I was thinking about playing this, and I know not a lot of people have like access to DraftKings and stuff, but there's a bet. Let's see. Hold on one second. Not Simone ITD. So that covers a Asuncao ITD, a Asuncao decision, and Simone decision. It's only minus 280, which honestly is like a pretty decent price, I think. So I know it's chalky, but I don't really see Simone finishing here at all. Asuncao is the better player, especially off his back, jiu-jitsu wise. And on the feet, I favor a Sun Sal. As far as like finishing goes, a decent amount. So yeah, I don't see Simone finishing this fight. So Simone decision. If you have a lot of confidence in him, Simone decision. And if not, I like a Sun Sal, ITD, or Simone. Not Simone inside the distance.
Well, I think it's summed up perfectly here in the chat. This is a pass fight from the betting perspective. Excuse me. But this is a spot where I'm gonna play him on DraftKings. I think that his path to victory is probably just grinding with takedowns and grinding, just the way Ricky Simone does. And typically, someone Ricky Simone scores very, very well. But I will not be betting it. I will not be parlaying him at minus 300. I will not be playing him straight at minus 300. It's a pass spot for me. I think that's pretty much all I got to say on this one. I apologize for my lack of awareness there. DraftKings lineups in COVID times are so tough, man. Yeah, it is NBA is all over the place right now. So hopefully no fights are lost for UFC. Hopefully it doesn't affect anything for UFC returning in January, but hopefully this all does.
The UFC doesn't believe in COVID.
Tony Kelly doesn't.
Exactly.
His willpower.
A lot of willpower. Willpower, yeah.
All right, let's move right along. Next one on the card, Amanda Lemos, 10-1-1, Angela Hill, 13-10. I'm not going to spend too much time on this one. Angela Hill is not someone I usually bet on. Not someone I don't think I've ever bet on. I'm not the biggest fan of her skill set, but what she does do very, very well is have decent durability. And Amanda Lemos is someone who's really going to test that because she is a absolute killer. I'm scared of Amanda Lemos, but this is not one I really am lining up to bet her in just because we haven't seen her really face that much adversity. And this is a huge step up. I know that, Liam, you are on Hill here. You want to tell us why?
Well, I am and I'm not, right? So I like to be honest with everybody, full disclosure, right? This is not on my tracked record. I have Angela Hill at plus 310. Didn't get a chance to track it. Market moved like really sharply against that price. So just in the interest of fairness and full disclosure, that's the price I locked in on Angela Hill. It's the reason I didn't cash out the bet. I think that the more tape I watched here, the more I think that Angela is starting to slow down a little bit. In her recent performances, I thought that she did not look her best against Tisha Torres. So perhaps that was just an underperformance. Maybe she regresses to the mean here, but she's also an older fighter for the division. I think that you see Lemos is an older fighter as well, but she's like a natural fighter. Like Amanda Lemos has been fighting all her life, doing martial arts all her life. And I think Angela Hill on the other side is just like somebody that took this up as a career and is now like on the back end of their career. And so I think Angela Hill just took a job as a radio host and whatever. I'm not trying to come up with like, just all these narrative reasons, but a couple of things that concern me, right? With the nice, generous Hill ticket in my pocket, I have Amanda Lemos to win this fight by submission at plus 1100 as well. I have the fight ends by submission at plus 950. I have some exposure to the fight not going the distance. I think that, a lot of people are banking on Angela Hill's toughness and durability here as a way of it not going, as a way of the fight not finishing potentially, and Angela finding her way to a decision. I'm just worried for her that she's still a grappling liability. A lot of the people she's been facing lately haven't pressed that advantage, and when they have, they've been undersized. I don't think that will be the case here. And on top of that, when we look at Lemos, she choked a girl unconscious with a choke across her jaw. She's completely ridiculously strong, probably has a really good doctor. And I think for all those reasons, Lemos is probably the side this weekend. I think she's going to win the fight. But from a money line, Gordo made the right point, which is that, Lemos pretty front loaded in her finishing capacity over the course of her career, a couple late finishes, mostly in the first round. And so if she doesn't finish Angie early here, she's probably going to get into a greasier fight as it goes on. For that reason, maybe this is a fight where you look to live enter on Angela Hill if you think that you see Lemos slowing down. However, I think that, this is probably a time when, unless she has a complete cardio death gas like she did against Leslie Smith, this should be a fight that she wins. I think she's better on the feet. I don't think that Angela is good at stopping takedowns. I think, unfortunately, Angela Hill takes herself down in like a good portion of her fights. Go back and check me on that. Like she throws knees and stuff and gets too high on her toes and then loses her balance and falls to her ass. Like I think all that's a huge concern when Lemos is pretty dangerous. Even with the ground and pound, right? She hits so freaking hard that if you're stuck on the ground and can't move, I think positional TKO is live here as well. But everybody is kind of oriented towards the KO potential here, which I think makes a lot of sense. Like she's going to crack Angela hard. But I think that the sneaky way to finish here would be the Lemos submission line. So at plus 1,100, I'm willing to take the poke. At plus 950, I'm willing to take the poke on either fighter wins by sub, because Angela Hill in her recent performances has kind of gravitated towards some of these grappling scenarios, trying to mix it up a little bit, trying to find takedowns. And I think if she's getting fucked up on the feet, what do you think she's going to do? She's probably at least going to try to mix it up, go for a takedown, take the back, something like that. And, you know, if she's got a gassed out opponent, it doesn't matter if Angela Hill sucks at jiu-jitsu. It really doesn't. So that for me is something that could be sneaky here. But I think both ladies have a path to finish, honestly. I just think that, you know, Lemos is a much better fighter.
All right, respect. Chance, what do you got in this one?
Yeah, great breakdown, Liam. But Lemos is gonna kill her. Yeah, Liam's right in everything he said, but she's gonna die. Lemos hits hard. Yeah, I mean, Hill has virtually nothing to offer off of her back. So I think Lemos go out there and get the grappling going. She'll probably just pick her up and slam her on the ground, and it'll probably be over pretty shortly after. But I see all that to say this. The only way I'm looking to play it really is probably Lemos round one. And yeah, I agree with everything Liam said. I think he got a great price. But yeah, I just don't think Hill's going to win. I'm going to be completely honest. I just don't see it. Like, those are all great points. And like value wise, maybe she's value in hindsight after this if she can survive. But I think a live entry after round one is like the only way to bet it. I mean, unless you're getting plus whatever Liam got, plus 300 or whatever, do not bet Angela Hill before this fight starts at all, because she's not finishing it. She will not finish this fight. Like, lock of the night is Lemo. Anything but Hill ITT minus 3,500 is the lock of the night. So, yeah.
Dude, you better knock on wood before Angela Hill gets the standing TKO against the fence on Leslie Smith 10 seconds after getting kicked off her feet. Like, literally, Lemos was so gassed in that fight that she kicks her off of her feet and just leans back against the cage. She's like, I was like, Jesus Christ, Amanda. Like, I think that's scary, man.
Yeah. So I like I said, I'm not betting Lemos money line wise. I am kind of at the point where I'm trying to decide if I want to take ITD or not. But that's really the only thing I'm looking at. And round one, I think, is possible. But Hill has fought a bunch, much better opponents. Her resume is much better. She throws more volume. She's probably going to win minutes on the feet. What I'm concerned with, though, is just if it's going to stay there. I really think Lemos comes out here and grapples. She could look like a wider favorite. Plus 1,100 Lemos by sub, I think, is extremely live. So even if she's not technically sound grappling wise, like Liam was saying, whenever she just has that choke across the face, basically across the chin, she just cranks it so hard that, I mean, Hill will tap. So,
well, I was making my notes on this, and I'm ready to make Chance laugh with this one. I don't know if you remember this, Liam, but when Tisha Torres fought Angela Hill, out of spite of Angela Hill and just to bother Phoenix, I bet Tisha Torres to finish Angela Hill in a fight. So what's stopping me from betting Lemos to finish this fight here? That was probably one of the stupidest bets I've ever done. I just wanted to make a point against Phoenix there. But yeah, this is a pass fight for me. How stupid am I on that one, Chance?
Yeah, I mean, dude, here's the thing. I really don't think Hill's like that bad, to be honest. Like, she's really not that bad. Like, as far as like women's MMA goes, like, she does a lot of stuff that you like to see. She throws volume. She's defensively fairly sound on the feet when it comes to like getting hit super hard. I mean, she moves well. She kind of has that like Clay Guida style where like they look like they're winning at all times because they're bouncing around and shit like that. So, I mean, I like to see that. and she throws a ton of volume. So, I mean, I think if it goes 3 rounds and Limos doesn't take her down, I would not want to be holding a Limos minus 3x ticket at all. Like, it's going to be close as fuck if she just stands on the feet. But Limos does hit like an absolute truck. Like, she hits very hard. She's probably the hardest hitter in women's MMA, to be honest. As far as like one punch knockout power. So yeah, that is kind of scary. But if she grapples here, like sub plus 1100 is wide. So that's kind of where I would look.
I just checked. My books have those. Unfortunately, they don't. I'll probably end up playing a little bit of Lemos inside the distance here. Maybe it's around 1, but no money line shot for me. I think she wins here, but I'm not really going to go bet on it because I don't want to sweat out a full couple units on her money line if she's going to be a bit tired in those third rounds. So respect to you for that ticket on Hill, Liam, but me no like. I'm not a big fan of Hill, but that's okay. I do respect what you guys got to say about that one. All right, moving it right along. We got 2 left in this one. We got the co-main event. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, 16-5-1. Bilal Muhammad, 19-3. And I'm on Wonderboy Thompson here. I've been a big fan of him for a while. I'm a big fan of his, let's say, striking style. But I done him against Burns, and he burned me. No pun intended. Now he's going up here against Bilal Muhammad, a guy who is a very well-rounded fighter. I'll give him that. But whenever Bilal Muhammad has fought these guys who are able to put power on him and really sit down in their strikes and be powerful punchers, he struggles. He gets knocked down. And I think really that Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is going to get a finish here. That's my prediction. I just don't see Bilal Muhammad outstriking him at all. I don't see Bilal Muhammad's wrestling being that good to just do exactly what Burns did to Thompson. And for that reason, I haven't played it yet, but I'll probably play a little bit of Thompson here, and I don't know how. What do you guys plan on this one? Chance, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I got Thompson KO plus 350. That's where I'm looking. God, Bilal's not that good. I mean, I know he's like everyone's favorite fighter because he's on Twitter and like talks to you guys, but he's not that good of a fighter. I mean, he's average everywhere. And yeah, if you're betting him, I think you're reliant on 2 things to cover plus 180. Okay, so just to cover that price, I think you have to count on Stephen Thompson to slow down a lot, right? Because if he comes out and he looks like prime Stephen Thompson, he's going to bounce Bilal's head off the canvas in the first 30 seconds. Okay, so you have to count on Stephen Thompson to slow down tremendously. The second thing you have to count on is Bilal to grapple, and not only to grapple, but to grapple effectively. So at some point, if you're betting Bilal plus 180, you need Bilal to grapple and get Stephen Thompson to the ground and hold him there for at least a significant period of time, just to cover the price, not to win the fight, just to cover the price. Those are the 2 things you need. Because on the feet, if it stays on the feet for a long period of time, we know who Stephen Thompson is. I don't have to tell you guys about his resume or how good he is on the feet. He's one of the best strikers in the UFC ever, to be completely honest, for MMA. And his like defensive grappling is really not bad. Like, he did what you'd like to see against Burns, and I bet Burns there. And I honestly was kind of impressed with Wonderboy. He was someone who hadn't faced a grappler before that. That's someone who like pushed the grappling like Burns did. And he honestly did exactly what he needed to do to get back to his feet and defend the takedowns. So yeah, I mean, I don't see Bilal being able to grapple him here effectively. And I think you need those 2 things to happen to just cover the price. So yeah, I'm on Wonderboy money line and KO plus 350. At some point he's going to catch him. So yeah. And if it doesn't come through, it'll be very close. Like, I think that even if this bet doesn't hit or doesn't cash, like, there will be opportunities for Wonderboy to finish if it stays on the feet. Like, I think it should. And I could be underrating Bilal's wrestling maybe, but from what I've seen, it's not the best. Maybe Liam can speak to that more, but I'm not impressed. Anyways.
Very well. Before I pass to Liam, I just gotta say this made me laugh here. Too afraid that Wonderboy might be too nice and knock him out and just drop him 2-3 times. Hey, that'll score well on DraftKings. Wonderboy is he's the nicest guy in the UFC, right? So yeah, who would I do like all your points you're saying there, Chance. Liam, what about you?
So I think that maybe Bilal's getting a little bit of a bad rap here. I think that the market has adjusted appropriately, for sure. Like, if it was inefficient, like I think now it's pretty damn close to accurate, if not a little bit short on the Thompson side. But what I mean to say there is just that this is in the small octagon, right? So like Wonder Boy's game is a lot of it predicated on movement, creating space, creating distance. I do think that Bilal is going to be able to close in on him sometimes. But you know, I believe Bilal went like 1 of 8 or 10 or 9 on takedown attempts against Diego Lima. So it's not like he's like a lights out wrestler, but he is pretty reliable to come forward, soldier through damage, try and put hands on you, try and press you into the cage, try and make it an ugly, sloppy, dirty fight, you know? And I think that that's the kind of thing that makes people think Bilal's got a chance here. I just think that against Wonder Boy, you know, last time out, it was a really, really tough matchup for Wonder Boy in retrospect, right? Because at range, he was picking him off a little bit, but a lot of his offense, right? He wants to throw these kicks and whatever. He doesn't want to get taken down. So he takes that out of the arsenal, leaving him with the punches. And he was doing pretty well with those. But then every time, you know, Burns gets in on him, he's got to show him utmost respect and slowly work out of position, as opposed to, you know, against an average guy, he could probably just pop up, you know, and they're not going to just snatch his neck instantly. Gilbert is that dangerous. I don't think that it's the same kind of danger factor in this fight with Bilal. But the other thing I'll mention is this, right? Nobody predicted. I would say, you know, maybe I'm wrong about this. Very few people were talking about how Showtime Pettis was going to knock him out, right? And he did, and we were all like, "Huh, that's kind of a baffling result." But it's because Wonder Boy's getting a little bit older, a little bit slower, and it was a committed leg kicking attack that led to a punching opportunity, put it on his chin and knocked him cold, right? So we haven't seen ill effects from that, even against big punchers like Neal and whatever. But the more time goes on, the more that does scare me just a touch. And so I think a sneaky way to target this as well, if you have that same kind of inkling of concern, you know, I don't think Bilal's a big power fighter. But if I was to play Thompson by KO, I would probably split it between Thompson by KO and either fighter wins by KO, TKO at plus 250, because I think Bilal's only chance to win this fight inside the distance. You know, I don't see him submitting Steven. I just think that he could catch him on the chin because he's going to be in his face throwing. And if Wonder Boy is like shot because he's old and he's been in fucking 100 plus striking only fights, if Bilal knocked him out, it would be a sad day in America, but it would also just be, you know, not all that unforeseeable. Given his age, given the fact that it's a small octagon, given the fact that Bilal will be in his face throwing all night. And, you know, Bilal is like sometimes too tough for his own good. Like, I think even if he gets absolutely butchered, he'll be there trying to throw till the bitter end. So that's at least, and I mean, he might get finished. I just mean if he doesn't get put out, I think he's going to keep coming forward no matter what damage he's accumulated.
All right. I agree here. KO it is. No, I do like your spot there, either side. We did see, I mean, Wonder Boy was knocked out there. I don't think that should really be indicative of the way you should play this. It was nicely placed by Pettis, but I don't see Belal Muhammad as possessing any kind of finishing ability. Sorry, that's kind of mean. I don't see him really possessing that much of a finishing ability here, especially
he's only
against the guys
finished 2 fights in the UFC, dude. So you're on the money with the data here. Only 2 out of his 12 UFC fights.
Yeah, so this is one where I'm gonna take Wonder Boy. I don't mind it by KO, but I would not be surprised if it's just like an attritional striking effect all the way down the road. So I don't know how I'm gonna play it, but I do like Wonder Boy a lot this week. All right, Chance, one last thing.
Say something real fast. I will say, I think this fight, something else to think about is if Bilal's on the back foot with his back against the cage, he's gonna lose 100%. He has to come out here and demand the center of the cage. Where I also think, on the flip side, if Wonder Boy comes out here and has his back to the cage and he's circling, I still favor Wonder Boy in that spot. So if you come out here and you see Bilal take the center of the cage, I think that is a good sign for a Bilal backer. Because like I said, if he's fighting with his back to the cage against Stephen Wonder Boy Thompson, he's going to die at some point. I feel pretty confidently in that. So I don't know. I think you need him to do a lot of things to justify plus 180. It's not like he's plus 250 or plus 225. He's plus 180, which is not a huge comeback, and you don't have to lay a ton on Thompson either. So I don't know. I'd be careful betting below here, to be honest.
Fair. And with that, we are on to our main event. Derek Lewis, 25-8. Chris Daukaus, 12-3. I'm going to keep this one short. I love the Black Beast. I am the one idiot in the world who bet him against Curtis Blades. Sorry, not the only one, but I did bet him against Curtis Blades. Fluke, maybe. Will I take it? Sure. Will I rub it in Liam's face every time I mention any of the two guys? Maybe. This is one where Chris Daukaus is getting a huge step up in competition. Sure, he's got hand speed, but you can look like an absolute god when you're facing the people you are at those lower levels. I don't think that Chris Daukaus is going to be able to play the same way he has against the Pats. I think if he has the same game plan he did against Shamil, he's going to get knocked out here. Derek Lewis is Derek Lewis. He has one game plan, that's to take your head completely off your shoulders. And honestly, I think Daukaus might give him the opportunity to, which is crazy enough. But I don't know if I'm letting too much bias get into that. I'm a big fan of Derek Lewis. I mean, who isn't? Very entertaining character. But no bet on it yet, actually. The one way I looked at it was I took the under. The fight doesn't go to decision because I swear to God, man, if this one goes to decision, then something's wrong. I think that either it'll be Lewis doing what I expect him to do and clipping Daukaus with that one shot that he needs, or if Daukaus is able to put on that attritional damage, volume, in and out, decent striking, he might be able to put Lewis away. But I think this is Lewis. The more I think about it, the more I'm going to look to play Lewis by KO. But I don't know, man. The main event curse is looming in the back of my mind. But I do have Lewis and Daukaus not to go to the distance. Parlayed with my Tafa Hunsucker not to go to the distance as my big bet of the week. That was my second leg. So I'm excited to hear what you guys got to say about it. Liam, you can start us off.
Alrighty. Yeah, so we're going to disagree on this main event then. But I don't think you're like out to lunch or something. You know, I think it all makes sense. I think Chris Daukaus definitely getting a step up in competition here, but I also think it's his time to get a step up in competition. I think it all is lining up for him right now. Just left the force. So like former cop Chris Daukaus, we'll call him now. And I think that, you know, full-time fighter, when you look at his old footage, obviously he wasn't a full-time fighter, right? Looked like a guy who was rolling off his couch. But even then you could tell, like, you know, he's got some upside to him. He's got some fast hands, can deliver some power, a lot of finishes on the regionals. So then he comes to the UFC, and there were times when he was like undervalued for sure. Rodrigo Nascimento, easy cash for me at plus 220. And that was when I was like, wow, this guy's got really good hand speed. He's aggressive. He doesn't give a shit. He's going to put hands on somebody. And when they're hurt, he's pretty good at following up, putting hard shots on them, giving them the door. You know, if somebody's hurt, he gives them the door pretty effectively. I thought he knocked out Shamil Abdurakhimov twice. You know, I thought that was like just unfair to the guy, like send him back out there after he had already been flatlined, only to get flatlined even worse the second time. So pretty brutal. But yeah, I had Daukaus round 1, Daukaus round 1 and 2, Daukaus wins by KO, and Daukaus in that fight. So he's been an absolute money train for me, right? I bet him, I think, in every UFC bout. It's harder for me to bet him here because he's taking a step up. I think that the violence bets that Gordo talked about make a lot of sense here. I think the under 4.5 is safe. I think the fight doesn't go as safe. I think fight doesn't start round 5 is good. I think fight doesn't start round 4. If the number's right, is an interesting enough spot. Because Daukaus, from what we have seen, is pretty, you know, early finish or sketchy. You know, like the fights that he did have get extended, he did not look great. Obviously, he's 20 pounds lighter at this point in his career, so maybe he wears it all better. But we've seen Derek Lewis put out a 25-minute pace, whereas we've never seen that from Daukaus. So I think that's an interesting factor here. But that being said, it's one thing to put out a 25-minute pace, which is not doing anything, right? It's like Derek doesn't do anything. I think that if you watch back his footage, you notice that, like, he doesn't proactively clinch. He doesn't, like, you know, he doesn't shoot takedowns. Like, none of those things happen in a Derek Lewis fight. He throws an occasional 3-punch clubbing series. He throws like a timed uppercut series, or he throws a single overhand right, or he switches to southpaw and throws like a jumping switch kick. That's what Derek Lewis is going to do in this fight. I'm confident in. The question is, does Daukaus get caught by that? I think Daukaus is fast coming in and out of range. Sometimes he takes pictures of his work. If he does that here, it's going to be a disaster, right? But I think that when you're fighting Derek Lewis, the number one thing you're going to try and do is have your P's and Q's in fucking order so you don't get killed. And I think that Daukaus is going to try and come in, come out, touch him to the body, and not try and hit him with a thunderous shot. I think Chris is going to try and play touch, because that's what normally sends Derek packing. Derek does not like to be hit, in my opinion. He's a pretty durable guy. He can take a shot. He just doesn't like it. And so when he starts getting hit hard, he starts questioning, should I leave? Like, should I find my way out of this fight right now? And I think more than one time in the UFC, we have seen Derek Lewis just go, see ya. I don't like betting on guys like that either, right? Where he will just check out of a fight and go, all right, finish me. Cover up his head and sit back against the cage, whatever. Thought he did it against Gane. Thought he did it against Mark Hunt back in the day. When he gets tired, when he doesn't feel good, when he's not comfortable, he quits. And he doesn't put himself in that great of a cardio condition either. So I think people that are banking on him to just out cardio Chris, I'm like, this might just turn into a sloppy heavyweight brawl. And there, maybe it's 50-50, but the line is kind of reflecting that, I think the sharper guy for the first 2 rounds is going to be Daukaus by a lot. And I think he's going to be faster and put out more activity. So I also think when you try and handicap, is this fight going to the ground? More often than not, I think it doesn't. But it's a heavyweight fight. And these guys are a little sloppy. Neither one of them has elite level footwork, in my opinion. Daukaus better footwork than Lewis, probably. Lewis is just like a little plodding, like walks and then plants. He sits his feet down and starts throwing from there. He's not the most mobile guy. And I think that Daukaus, if he threw more leg kicks, I would be much more confident in him in the spot. I think that was a key ingredient for Gane's success. But a lot of guys have had success outstriking Derek Lewis in the UFC. And faster boxers have been chief among them. I think that a smart game plan here from Martinez, BJJ, and the Daukaus team is going to get them the win. I think that Derek Lewis probably finds his way out in the 3rd or the 2nd round here after just sustaining too much volume from Chris.
All right. Well, all your points are valid. And the only thing I got to say to them is you never know what you get when you're facing Derek Lewis in terms of – sorry, that is not true at all. You don't know what outcome you're going to get because you're facing Derek Lewis. He does one thing. He does it perfectly. He knocks everybody out despite of the lack of real ability. Just ask Curtis Blades, right? So I can never bet against Derek Lewis. I never will. The real question is, am I going to bet on him this week? So we'll have to see how much the line moves, and let's hear what Chance has got to say about it because I know he's on Lewis' side here.
Yeah. So part of me thinks Lewis is going to find a knockout, but I'm going to be completely honest. The way I'm playing it here is I'm going to actually bet Daukaus. Is kind of what I decided on because I think he wins round 1 and 2 at a very high clip. And I think I'm going to look for a live entry on Lewis. And that's kind of what I want to tell my guys to do that are on my Patreon and stuff like that. I think that's by far the best way to play this. Lewis honestly usually finds his knockouts a bit late, to be completely honest. Like kind of to Liam's point, his cardio is like based off him doing nothing, especially for the first couple rounds. And on the flip side, I think if Daukaus goes out there and grapples, he's going to submit Lewis, I think, fairly fast. And while it's kind of a guess, because it's kind of a big question mark, we haven't seen him grapple proactively often. I think he trains with the guys up in Philly who, we've seen time and time again know what they're doing on the mat. So I think that'll be a live outcome if he chooses to do so. So yeah, I'm going to bet Daukaus and look to live bet Lewis if it gets to round 3 or round 4, because at that point he should be probably plus 500-ish. I mean, I think the books still respect him as a KO threat, especially late, because I am a bit worried about Daukaus' cardio. But rounds 1 and 2 should be his clearly, and I don't really think Lewis is going to come out here and put him out early. So that's kind of how I'm going to be looking to play this. But in the end, I do think Lewis is going to find the KO late. But that's just how I'm going to look to play it. So,
as long as this breaks the main event curse, well, last week kind of did, but I swear to God, man, if this goes all 5, I will be one unhappy man. I don't think it will, though. Hopefully,
I would be very surprised. I would be very surprised, buddy.
Me too, man. But
I don't think
who
either
knows?
of these guys have the cardio to fucking stand upright for 25 minutes, like, and move their arms in forward directions. I really
Dude,
don't.
Daukaus is
This could be a
cardio
heart
bad.
attack condition. Yeah, dude, I think that it's probably better because he's like 20 pounds lighter. But Chance, I agree with you. For everything I had seen from Daukaus, the only red flag that I saw on his tape was like he once beat the shit out of a guy who looks a little bit like Derek Lewis, and then like completely gassed himself and got smashed in like kind of ugly fashion as well. If you go back and watch that, Ansaway Zoo or something, I'm butchering the guy's name, but like kind of like a regional legend, older guy too, like not a spring chicken at the time that Derek fought him. So I think that's the, did I just say Derek? I meant to say Chris. I think that's the cause for concern there for Chris is like he has an analogous matchup that he lost, but it was a long time ago. And I'm telling you, Chris Daukaus does look better over the course of his UFC career in leaps and bounds, fight over fight as well. Like he looked okay when he got here. Parker Porter, like that's not a bad win. I know people shit on Parker and whatever, and he's kind of silly and, you know, it's the regional level guy, but like that Parker Porter win aged pretty well, in my opinion, based on what Parker's been doing in the UFC. So I don't think he's just been fighting complete tomato cans. Alexei Olenek gave Derek Lewis just as stiff a test, you know, like if not more when he was a similar age, right? Like he had Derek down in submission holds more than once, whereas he like kind of got in on a clinch with Daukaus before getting absolutely brutally murdered more than once against the fence because the referee just likes to see old men die.
Well, I just hope it finishes. I hope for a good one. I'm cheering for the Black Beast, but no bet on it yet. And that's going to do it for us. That's the full card, an hour and 40 minutes. Notable things to happen during the card. Kyrie Irving is back with the Nets. Just thought I'd mention that. And this seems like a good time to say, first time on the air, first time announcing it, I am the lucky champion of the DraftKings Ironman this year, which means I get to sit back and enjoy this one. I don't have to stress it out with you guys. I don't have to bother you guys like I have the couple weeks of helping me lock this up. I get to enjoy it. But no, this has been a great breakdown with you guys. Another thing you guys got to check out for, I need everybody right now to go follow ChanceWagers on Twitter, LiamPicksFights on Twitter, because that Twitter space last night was a lot of fun talking with you guys. That was a very good thing, and I think we should do that again soon. So that's going to do it for the final event of 2021. Next time I'll see you guys will be in 2022. So I appreciate you guys coming on the show more than you guys know. You guys are absolute legends, and I appreciate you guys being on the show for a while now. And let them know where they can find you. Chance, you first. Where can they find you and your incredible work, especially on NCAA, which, by the way, I hate to break it to you, your team isn't covering yet.
I know it's not looking too hot, but yeah. So ChanceWagers on Twitter. That's where you can find me. I have a Patreon. It's $10 a month. But I will say that's where I give out all my UFC stuff as well, or anything that I'm on. If you like and comment on this video, just shoot me a DM with the proof, and I'll send you all my bets for UFC tomorrow, as well as some regional stuff I have going as well. And make sure to follow Liam and Gordo as well. Pretty sharp guys. We had a lot of fun on the Twitter space last night, and I'm definitely going to be looking to do that again in the future. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for having me on, man.
No, thank you for coming on the show. I'm definitely looking forward to having you on in the new year as well. Maybe some more DFS videos because that last one was a lot of fun as well. Liam, where can they find you?
Absolutely, man. So I'm really excited to let everybody know I'm going to be on Pub Sports Radio for the watch along tomorrow. First time for me, so that should be a good time. Looking forward to that new opportunity. And yeah, I think otherwise you can find me at LiamPicksFights all over the place. Done a couple breakdowns on this card myself on my channel. If you want to see what Notorious Picks had to say, if you want to see what John Stargarian had to say, Gerhardt from Your Best Bet Sports Data, they were all guests on my show this week. So I encourage you guys to go check that out. Timestamps on the first video. I'm still slacking. Got to put timestamps on the second one, but you guys know the vibe. So appreciate everybody checking out this video today and supporting this work. I think Gordo's doing a great thing over here at Plays and Fades.
Well, I appreciate the kind words. Now is the time for you guys to go check out the DFS video that I just posted. And it's the last one of the year. So in the new year, I look forward to doing this again, hopefully improve the setup as well and get these two absolute beauticians on the show once again, because I think we really kill it. But thank you guys for coming on the show as always. And thank you to all the viewers for tuning in. hitting that like button. Check these guys out on Twitter. Check Liam out on YouTube, and check out Chance's Patreon, because there is money to be made, folks. I wish everybody the best of luck on the card tomorrow. Enjoy it in. Take it in. Enjoy it all. The last card of 2021, and let's make some money. Cheers, guys. Have a good one.